Good morning, folks. Nice to be able to talk to you this morning, and thanks very much, Mr. Brown, for inviting me. It's a few years since this talk was sort of born, I suppose, and it came about because of a couple of books that I was reading at the time, a world-famous or world-class sporting event, and a meeting or a talk from a rather inspirational woman. So here goes. The first book that I want to talk to you about is a book called Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance. Now, this book, some people say is kind of a life-changing read. Some people think it's a load of hippie claptrap. I think I was probably somewhere in the middle. And it's about a guy who goes on a motorcycle journey with his son. And he starts to muse on sort of the meaning of life and various philosophies. He thinks about the classical understanding of the world, so kind of the science side of things. He thinks about the romantic understanding of the world, which is more the sort of, let's say, arty, sort of English side of things. Quick as you can, guys, you're missing the good stuff. Which is more of the sort of English side of things, the sort of arty side of things. And he muses that perhaps at the heart of all of this is something that you might refer to as sort of quality. I think in Chinese philosophy, they might refer to it as something called Tao. Okay, and it's sort of the essence of what makes life a little bit sort of magic. Anyhow, this is a little extract that might give you a flavour of what I'm talking about. Why does everybody see quality differently? Quality is shapeless, formless, and it's indescribable. To see shapes and to see forms is to intellectualise. And quality is independent of any shapes and forms. The names and shapes and forms we give quality depend only partly on quality. They depend also partly on the a priori images we've accumulated in our memory, so theoretical images. We constantly seek to find in a quality event analogues to our own experiences. If we didn't, we'd be unable to act. We build up our languages in terms of these analogues. We build up our whole culture in terms of these analogues. The reason why people see quality differently is because they all come to it with different sets of analogues. And to my mind, that's kind of like beauty being in the eye of the beholder. Everybody sees quality a little bit differently. Now, I can remember reading this and starting to muse about the quality in my own life. And it's pretty much the same now as it was then. Certainly, I was talking to a year 10 set a few days ago, and genuinely I get a buzz out of seeing the fact that they're starting to take a little bit of ownership of their learning. You know who you are. Okay? It really does still give me a buzz after all these years. Saturday mornings at the boat club, when the 8 starts to really fly, it's just magic. It's a real, for me, there's something quality, there's something special happening in the air when that's going on. Or spending time in the mountains with people that I care about, you know, getting a sense of something that's perhaps bigger than you are. Anyhow, the second book that I was reading was a slightly different read, a bit more sort of gritty realism by an author called Martin Amis. It was a book called London Fields, and the lead protagonist in this book is a bit of a nasty piece of work called Keith. Now, Keith had no time for the gin, the fancy restaurant, the buxom bestseller, or the foreign holiday. He'd never taken any exercise, unless you counted burgling, running away, and getting beaten up. He'd never knowingly drunk a glass of wine, or only when he was well past caring. He'd never read a book. We here exclude darts, master the discipline. And he'd never been out of London. And television was all about everything he did not have and was full of the people he did not know and could never be. Television was the great shopfront, lightly electrified, up against which Keith crushed his nose. And now amongst the squirming motes, the impossible prizes, he saw a doorway or an arrow or a beckoning hand with a dart in it. And everything said darts, pro darts, world darts. And he's down there in his garage, putting in the hours, his eyes still stinging from the ineffable, heartbreaking beauty of a brand new dartboard, stolen that very day. Now, I think that segues neatly into the global sporting event that I was talking to earlier. I'm sure that everybody remembers where they were when Robert the Magician Wagner played Ted the Count Hankey in the second round at the Lakeside Country Club in the BDO World Championships. I don't know if you've ever seen a 19-stone man somersault onto an oche, but it's quite a sight to behold. Anyway, we join the action, and Robert the Magician Wagner's 2 sets up. Ted the Count's a pretty fluid player, but he gets a bit antsy with the crowd when they get on his back, and so he's snarling at us a little bit, and things aren't looking good. I've actually got a hunch that he's going to turn things around, and I go to the bookies and put a fiver on, just in the chance that the 10-1 might come in for me. But it's not looking good because Robert the Magician is he's on darts for the match, and it looks like it's all over. Ted the Count has still got 123 to check out, and so it's not necessarily looking like it's going to go his way. I'm sure you all know that the way you check out a 1, 2, 3 is treble 19, treble 16, double 9. Ted hits the treble 19, and the crowd, their ears prick up a little bit. There's a little bit more interest. The treble 16 goes, chicken in a basket gets pushed to one side. Before you know it, he's hit the double 9, and he's turned things around. He comes back, he wins the next 2 sets, he takes the match 3-2. Yours truly wins 50 quid. And what's the point of the tale? Well, obviously it was a moment of sort of magnetism, of pure quality. Anyhow, the final little part of this tale was a meeting with quite a remarkable lady who came to talk to a group of students, not dissimilar to this, who was the first British lady to summit Everest, a lady called Rebecca Stevens. And she gave what I thought was a terrific bit of advice to young people, and it stayed with me for this day. She talked about the fact that she wasn't a mountaineer. I think she went on a charity trek to Nepal in her 20s maybe, and got sight of Everest for the first time. And she had this feeling, and she had this instinct that she knew that, you know, that's what she wanted to do, and that's where she wanted to be. And so I guess that sort of, if there is a message from today, it's not dissimilar to hers, which is that, you know, when you get that quality event, it might be a catalyst for something, or it might be the conclusion of something. But when you get those feelings, don't just dismiss them. Often it's a good idea to act on them. I'm going to leave you with a quote from Albert Einstein, who talked about the state of mind that perhaps we all, with which we ought to go about our business. And he said that the state of mind which enables a man to do work of this kind is akin to that of the religious worshipper or lover. The daily effort comes from no deliberate intention or program, but it comes straight from the heart. Thanks very much for listening, boys.